Now, you may remember, 2 years ago, we did an episode about the Dreamcast and one of its landmark titles, Shenmue. But during the 2 years the console was alive, it did feature an amazing lineup of titles. If you like fighting games, then Capcom definitely had you covered, as well as a Resident Evil to call their own. For about a year. And Sega did release some damn good first-party titles like Summer Day Amigo, Space Channel 5, and Sonic Adventure 1 and 2. But this week, being my 27th birthday, I'm going to talk about a Dreamcast game that I truly fell in love with. Today, we talk about Skies of Arcadia. Released in 2000, Skies of Arcadia is an RPG developed by Sega division Overworks, and because of the GD-ROM format, was actually released on 2 discs. The story begins with a girl dressed in white being chased down by a douche in a giant ship. Don't worry, it gets better from there, as his ship is boarded by sky pirates, introducing Vise and his best friend Aika, 2 members of the noble Blue Rogues pirate crew. The douche in question is Alfonso, and he is an admiral for the Valuian Empire. After rescuing her, we are introduced to Fina and return to Pirates Island. Arcadia is set in a world that doesn't appear to have any actual landmass, instead having floating islands and overlooked by not 1, but 6 moons in different colors. Vise sees a moonstone crash on a nearby island, which are fallen gems that are used to power the world in this game, and Aika and him set out to retrieve it. However, after returning, they find that the Valuian Armada attacked the island, taking the Blue Rogues and Fina with them back to Valuia. Vise and Aika get in their little boat and head to rescue them. No sooner do they start though, but their boat is rammed by a giant arc whale, and they land on a ship being manned by the grumpy Drachma. Actually, grumpy's not the best word. More like his mechanical arm isn't as cold as he is. After persuading Drachma with a harpoon cannon, Vise and Aika sneak into Valuia and manage to bust out his crew and Fina. And then we learn Fina's real intention. She hails from under the silver moon and was sent out to retrieve the 6 moon crystals. So, it looks like we have our MacGuffins for this game. The 6 moon crystals were used to power beasts of unspeakable power known as Gaigas, which centuries ago rained destruction upon the world, and they are desired by the Valuian Empire, led by Empress Theodora in an effort to expand Valuia's strength. In some ways, Skies of Arcadia reminds me a lot of my other favorite Sega RPG, Panzer Dragoon Saga, in that you control both Vise directly and fly around the world in your ship, moving up and down as you traverse the world. So, let's talk about the battle system. What I love about Arcadia's fights is the real-time 3D design of it. It's not just a case of you on one side and your opponents on the other. No, you're essentially fighting like an actual fight. The top bar is spirit points. You need those for certain attacks like using magic and special moves, leading to strategies like who will heal, and who will use the focus move to raise the level faster, not to mention the chance to initiate a counterattack. But then we have the Moonstones. Besides powering ships, these things are also used on weapons, and here where things get really interesting. Everyone you fight has a specific color, and certain Moonstones are either weaker or stronger towards them, like how red beats blue and vice versa. But on the other hand, purple doesn't work well against green. This then brings on a whole other level of strategy, especially with chaining stones on the fly. But that's just direct combat. What about naval combat? One of the major aspects of the game is getting into ship-to-ship combat, usually with ships of the antagonist Valyrian Armada. You plan out your moves in this 4x4 grid, with certain columns dealing out critical hits. While there are no moonstones to switch, you still have things to worry about, like making sure your ship doesn't get destroyed. And do I have enough spirit points when I get the chance to use my ship's signature destructive weapon? While the three main characters are Vise, Ica, and Fina, there's always someone else accompanying you on the journey. First there's Drachma, then the womanizing Gilda, and lastly there is Enrique, the Valyrian prince, and the only member of the kingdom who seems to have a soul, or heart, or brain, and an apparent liking towards Asian princesses apparently. Arcadia's story is huge, featuring many twists and turns and some amazing action scenes, which for a game released at the beginning of the 6th generation was amazing to see. The game's main story will last you at least 50 hours, and then of course we have all the side missions like finding discoveries. Littered throughout the world are discoveries to find when your compass starts spinning, and then you sell the information. Then halfway through the first disc, Enrique helps you steal a brand new, state-of-the-art Valyrian ship. But then you have to start building a crew, gathering members from all corners of the world. As you get new members, your spirit meter lengthens, as well as the decisions you make in certain situations. In fact, when your meter gets full, you can actually send your entire crew out to attack. That, or send the fucking moon onto them. The world is huge, and you will spend a good chunk of it flying from place to place, going deep into many different dungeons. But I will give you one little complaint. The encounter rate is on the verge of being annoying, especially when the enemies are either underpowered or these fucking things. Loopers are some of the most annoying enemies in the game because they will continuously dodge attacks or just run away. The first time I played this game, I was continuously drawing comparisons not just Wind Waker with the way you travel from place to place, but also Mass Effect with its crew building as well as helping boost their morale. After the Dreamcast was discontinued in early 2001, Sega would actually start working on delivering games to the other three consoles, and one of those plans was to release Skies of Arcadia on the PS2, the PC, and the GameCube. Sadly, over time, both the PC and PS2 versions were cancelled, leaving only the GameCube version, which would be known as Skies of Arcadia Legends. On a graphic comparison, both versions are basically the same, but there is major differences to both. For one, the GameCube version does contain additional discoveries, an additional storyline, and bounty mode, but the Dreamcast version features this little thing. Unlike other games, Arcadia utilized Sega's little VMU very well. Early on, we are introduced to Fina's sidekick, Kupal, who actually helps her in battle. Throughout the game, Kupal will reside inside your VMU until he senses a cham nearby, which are used to help power him up. When he detects one, the VMU will start beeping until you get close enough. There's also Pinter's Quest, a small side game that you actually play on the device. So when it comes to which version to get, honestly, both versions go for the same basic price. Or hell, just get both like I did. While looking for footage for this review, I discovered a real lack of one thing in particular: advertising. The only commercial I was able to find was a 15-second Japanese commercial where the game went under the name Eternal Arcadia, while Shenmue, a game with a much larger budget and a much smaller audience, would get the bulk of advertising. Skies of Arcadia would basically fly underneath the radar, with only a few print ads, and despite being recognized as an amazing game, sales figures seem to say the game sold only 300,000 on both systems combined. which is a real shame because Arcadia is probably the best RPG of the 6th generation. Yes, even better than Dragon Quest VIII and Final Fantasy... whatever. I want to say 9. If the PS2 version hadn't been cancelled, and if Sega had given this game, a game with a much larger scope of an audience, the same amount of press it gave Shenmue, the Dreamcast may have seen a surge. Or at least the hopes for a sequel. In fact, for a while, Arcadia's producer Riko Kodama said there was plans for a sequel. But that was over a decade ago, and the only presence we've felt of the Blue Rogues is Vise in All-Stars Racing Transformed, and our 3 heroes being playable characters in Valkyria Chronicles. But before we go, we need to discuss the elephant in the room, and you know exactly what I'm talking about. I can't be the only one who's noticed that there is something going on with these 3, which begs the question, who would Vise actually pick? I mean, Iker is his best friend, but Fina? Something tells me that she could have a real wild side. You know how shy girls are. Of course, he is a pirate, and doesn't have to play by the rules. So...
I'll take them both, I'm hardcore!
Happy birthday to Vise. Happy birthday to me! So, thanks for watching, and I'm going to celebrate the way I do every year, and get blind drunk. So, I'll see you all next time. Cheap piece of crap.